On the news, Benue bank robbery death toll rises as police confirm Otokpo DPO and 3 other officers killed. Tinubu orders release of 4 months withheld salary of ASU, grants no work, no pay waiver to resident doctors. And South Korea seeks Nigeria support to host Expo 2030. It's a pleasure to have you join us on News Now on TV 360 in Nigeria. I am Simisola Atigun. Police in Benue State have confirmed the killing of the Otokpo Divisional Police Officer John Adiku and 3 other policemen in a gun battle with the bank robbers, who also killed many others within and outside the bank premises on Friday. Heavily armed men in 2 Hilux vans and a car stormed commercial banks in the town with explosives and sophisticated weapons, killing several persons, including police personnel, vigilante members, and a local government councillor, and they carted away large sums of money. In a press statement, spokesperson for the command, Suaise Anene, said 2 of the bank robbers were killed during the gun battle with a team of security reinforcement along the Otokpo-Taraku Federal Highway, with many of them scampering into the forest. President Bola Tinubu has approved the release of 4 months withheld salary to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, following their 8-month-long strike in 2022. The federal government had consequently imposed the no work, no pay order, which denied the university teachers their salary. But according to a statement issued on Friday by presidential spokesperson Ajuri Ngelale, the president has approved the partial waiver of the order to mitigate the effect of the ongoing economic reforms in the country and in recognition of the faithful implementation of the agreement reached between the federal government and the unions. In a similar move, the president has also granted what he insisted is the last waiver of the no work, no pay on resident doctors following the implementation of the agreement reached with the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, over their recent strike. The doctors had called off their 2-week strike on August 12th this year after negotiations with the federal government. President Bola Tinubu's move, granting a waiver on the implementation of the no work, no pay order on the salaries of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, and the National Association of Resident Doctors, NAD, has drawn reactions from various quarters. Speaking on the development, public affairs analyst Achike Chude says the president's move is not a bad precedent, as strikes occur when the government fails to fulfill its own side of the bargain.
Why would it be a bad president? The governments in the past have always paid. Yeah, even in spite of the protestation by the government, about the no work, no pay rule. Sometimes, most times they have allowed common sense to prevail. And that is because in most cases, you find out that it is the government that provoked the strike in the first place. They are the ones that refuse to honor an agreement. And so when the doctors use the last card, the last resort, to embark on a protest, on a strike, then the government now refuses to pay them monies that is owed them. And so there's no justice in that. I can't. There's no other way I can look at it, because the doctors, usually workers do not like to go on strike. And so whether it is doctors or whether it is the NLC or whether it is the ASO, in most cases, it is always the last resort. And before they go on strike, they inform the government constantly. They go on warning strikes to tell the government that, look, if you don't respond to us, we will go on strike. And so at the end of the day, they end up going on strike, and then you now have to punish them for going on strike in the very first place. So I do not think it's sending a bad signal. I'm not sure. What will send the right signal is that the government should honor its obligations, its responsibilities, its agreements with its workers.
President Bola Tinubu says Nigeria needs leadership that would make tough decisions in the present for an enviable future. The president said this when he received Southwest Islamic leaders at the State House, Abuja. Addressing the delegation led by President of the Umar, Rasaki Oladejo, the president said the current challenges facing the nation are only temporary, while he assured Nigerians of better days ahead. The continued marginalization of women in Nigeria and the lifelong segregation raises eyebrows has again become a subject of discourse. This discourse came to the fore at the maiden edition of the 2023 Trade Union Congress Federal Capital Territory Women Commission Annual Summit. Our correspondent Emeka Amako files the report.
Marginalization of women in economic development and in social and political spaces is a worldwide phenomenon. However, it is worse in developing countries. In Nigeria, while the Constitution provides for gender equality and non-discrimination, women continue to be subjected to social closure and marginalization across all fields. It is in a bid to shove aside the discrimination against women rooted in cultural beliefs in Nigeria that the TUC FCT Women Commission and its partners have organized this summit with the theme Breaking Barriers, a Transformational FCT.
A lot of women has developed these emotions in them that hinders them and gives them limitation. For me, I call it an illusion, an imagination. They dwell in their own imagination. Today, they are here today to understand that it's not all about their imagination, but about the positive thoughts that they can have in their heart and send it into their brain as a signal, and it will come out like an output, and the world and the society will see what the potential they have in them.
While lauding President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for giving women appointment in his government, these women say there is room for improvement.
I want to give and take. Yes, we're not there, but I want to commend the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for all the appointments, for all the considerations he's giving to our sisters. We want more. We want more. This is not enough. This is just like a starting point. And I also want to encourage the state governors to follow suit. Yes, women can do it. We can do it, and so we should be given the opportunity.
Male dominance across board remains a daunting challenge for women in Nigeria, and this can be subdued following calls to close the gender wage gap. For the Pengansen women, every female should actively engage in either a trade, skill, or profession to ward off overdependence on the male folk.
It's only when you are financially free that you will be able to stand for yourself and speak for yourself. So we as union have actually championed this cause to make sure that no woman is left sitting and feeling that I can't help myself. We have to make sure that every woman, no matter how small, we can start with a small scale and then enlarge it to a big scale. So what we do is go into the society, identify all those people which we feel have nothing to stand with, and then show them support to be able to carry on with their lives.
The activities of women can only be improved when you give them opportunity. You give them opportunity to develop themselves in the area of training, in the area of education. That there's no barrier to training and there's no monopoly of knowledge. If the opportunity is there for them, they can further their educations and become somebody greater than what they are today. They are human beings and they are like men. That God did not make them because they are women, that you take advantage to suppress them. We don't condone that. In unionism, injury to one is injury to all.
The group believes that government and organizations have a responsibility to create better policies and opportunities for women. Nonetheless, women also need support to step forward and overcome the habits holding them back.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Adewale Adeniyi as the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service. Director of Information Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Willie Bassi, made this known in a statement issued on Friday in Abuja. According to the statement, the President tasks Adeniyi with bringing his wealth of experience to bear on his new assignment. An appeal has gone to the Inspector General of Police, Director General of the Department of State Security Services, DSS, the National Security Advisor, and other heads of security agencies to protect the people of Kogi State and their votes in the forthcoming governorship election. speaking to journalists against the backdrop of a recent attack on the convoy of the governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, Murtala Ajaka, by gunmen suspected to be politically sponsored thugs. Former Deputy Governor of Kogi State, Simon Achuba, says the people of Kogi are dying from insecurity and poverty, while he appeals to the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to remain firm against any intimidation.
I want to use this medium to call on the Inspector General of Police, the SSS, the military, the Navy, and all security agents in Kogi State to please reorganize themselves. We are Nigerians. We are not slaves of this country. Let us, for once, have a breath in Kogi State. As a state, we are choking, we are dying, and we have been crying. We have been weeping. How long will this continue? You may be in power today, it might look like what is going on is what you are enjoying it and is good. But in another turn, it will turn around you and it will be too negative. And by the time we all realize it, we will all be in the ditch. Let us as a nation, for once, do something right. And I want to use this medium to call on INEC that the INEC chairman, as he has promised, that election results should be electronically transferred from the polling unit, that he stands by his word. Let Nigerians be made to believe that the glitches which he did complain about during the presidential era were actual glitches. But that for this runoff, for this election, if there are glitches, he should please attend to them before that day. If the glitches are not resolved, there is room to postpone the election, so that there will be no room for say, it was glitches, it was also problem. Maybe another language could be coined. We don't want that.
Nigerian youths have been advised to see themselves as catalysts of developmental change and not as tools for violence and other social vices. Alex Onuche, the senior pastor, Word of Fire and Refiners Church, Abuja, made this call while speaking to journalists in Abuja against the backdrop of the off-cycle elections scheduled to hold on November 11 in Kogi, Imo and Bayelsa states. Also lending his voice is clergyman Sunday Goche, who appeals to the Nigerian government to prioritize justice and righteousness, as these would be good for the nation.
Nigerian government must give opportunity for justice and righteousness to prevail. As long as there is no justice, we are not making any headway at all. Justice and righteousness must be given its rightful place. No nation gets exalted. The Bible says righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a reproach, is a disgrace, is trouble to any people. Every kind of mineral you can think of, iron ore, look at the Ajaokuta iron steel that has been there. Still, we are not making use of it. Other countries like Korea that established their steel company the same time we did ours, we import things from them. So we are trusting God that all that God has endowed Kogi State with, coal, limestone, and so on and so forth, God will give us a government that will benefit the people. A government that is not self-centered, that is not selfish, a government that looks for the progress of her citizens. That's what we are praying for, and that's what we believe God is going to give to us.
Some stakeholders in the health sector have called on Nigerians to strictly adhere to directives given by healthcare practitioners and guidelines set by the government to check the spread of diphtheria in the country. They made this known at a meeting with International Development partners to review ongoing efforts aimed at reducing the spread of the disease. Emphasis is also laid on the importance of for Nigerians to be aware of the symptoms of the disease so they can easily seek medical help, as medical supplies are not enough to cater for all victims of the disease.
An impressive 3,166,419 children aged from 4 years to 14 years have received the TB vaccine, further strengthening our safeguards from the disease among our children and teenagers. That vaccination alone is not enough. We must also raise awareness about the importance of immunization and the grave consequences of neglecting it. Our healthcare professionals, policymakers, parents, you, the media, traditional and religious leaders must work in tandem to ensure that every eligible individual receives the vaccine. Non-pharmaceutical measures are equally vital in our fight against this disease. Simple yet effective actions such as regular hand washing, using sanitizers, using face masks, and maintaining good respiratory hygiene can significantly reduce the transmission of the bacteria. Early diagnosis and prompt treatment are also essential to curbing the severity of the disease. In conclusion, we must confront the severity of diphtheria in Nigeria with a sense of urgency and unwavering determination. The numbers speak for themselves, and the consequences of inaction are far too severe to be ignored.
As part of moves to address the menace of out-of-school children in Nigeria, the IA Foundation, a UK and Nigerian registered education non-profit organization, has organized a walk in Lagos to create awareness for residents on the potential consequences of continuous relegation of universal basic education in Nigeria. CEO and founder, IA Foundation, Ibironke Adiagbo, who led the walk from Ikeja Underbridge to the Lagos State House of Assembly, urged the government to prioritize and provide education for all. In response, the lawmakers commended the education activists and promised the menace of out-of-school children will be addressed.
Basically, UNESCO tells us that there are 20.2 million children on the streets in Nigeria. 20.2 is about 10% of our population. If these children don't go to school, they will have no skills. Therefore, if they have no skills, they will resort to crime in future. The reason why we have high level of insecurity in Nigeria is because long ago, children were on the streets, nobody paid attention. Those kids have grown up now, they have no skills, so they have to resort to criminality. We don't want that to happen again. We all have a stake in this. So we decided to go on the streets to pick these kids up, put them in school and pay their fees so that they will have employable skills in future. Yes, we are actually based in the UK, right? So we do fundraising in the UK and we do in Nigeria as well. And when we get those funds, we transfer it to the UK, to Nigeria, and pick up these kids and pay their fees. As you can see, we just tried to pick up a kid on the streets, but his parent was reluctant because the parent prefers for them to go hawking and use them to raise revenue for the family. So parents have a big role to play in all this as well, because we don't understand why they are reluctant to send their kids to school.
Even with the new government, the administration of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president is one of the key focal points of his administration is education. And of course, a lot of financing is going to go into that to make sure that adequate funding goes into the educational sector, particularly for the promotion of the girl child. That's why we have, for now, we have the Ministry of Women Affairs, and we also have the Ministry of Humanitarian Services, who will work vice versa and hand in hand to make sure that the development of the women child is top on our list.
We'll take a pause here, but still to come. UN Secretary General Guterres calls for action to accelerate progress of SDGs in commemoration of the 2023 United Nations Day. We'll give you details of this and other stories when we return. Welcome back. A recap of our top stories. Police in Benue State have confirmed the killing of the Otukpo Divisional Police Officer John Adiku and 3 other policemen in Friday's gun battle with the bank robbers, who also killed many others within and outside the bank premises. In a press statement, spokesperson for the command, Soese Anene, said 2 of the bank robbers were killed during the gun duel with a team of security reinforcement along the Otukpo-Taraku Federal Highway, with many of them scampering into the forest. We also told you President Bola Tinubu has approved the release of 4 months withheld salary to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, following their 8-month-long strike in 2022. In a similar move, the President has also granted what he insisted is the last waiver of the no work, no pay on resident doctors, following the implementation of the agreement reached with the National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, over their recent strike. In case you missed any of our news bulletins, or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store and Huawei App Gallery. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. On business, the Republic of South Korea has sought Nigeria's support for its bid to host the World Expo 2030 in its second largest city, Busan. South Korea's Land Minister Woh Hee-rang, who made the request during a 2-day working visit to Nigeria as a presidential envoy to meet high-ranking Nigerian officials. In his response, President Tinubu describes the project as an important opportunity for fruitful collaboration and the evolution of a pragmatic and dynamic business partnership. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has highlighted the importance of diplomacy, dialogue and collaboration in diffusing tensions and resolving conflicts in commemoration of the 2023 United Nations Day, while highlighting the crisis facing both people and the planet, including conflicts leading to significant displacements, severe natural disasters like fires and floods, rising temperatures and persistent issues related to poverty, inequality and injustice. Guterres issues a compelling call for global commitment to actively promote and maintain peace for the benefit of all humanity.
The United Nations is a reflection of the world as it is and an aspiration of the world we know it can be. It is our responsibility to help build that world of peace, sustainable development and human rights for all. I know we can do it. The Charter of the United Nations, which entered into force 78 years ago today, points the way. Above all, it is rooted in a spirit of determination to heal divisions, repair relations and build peace, to expand opportunities and leave no one behind, to ensure justice, equality and empowerment for women and girls, to provide life-saving relief to those in need, and to be flexible enough to address challenges that did not even exist when the UN was born, from the existential climate crisis to the perils and promise of artificial intelligence. The United Nations is guided by timeless values and principles, but it must never be frozen in time. That is why we must always keep strengthening ways of working and applying a 21st century lens to all we do. On this United Nations Day, let us commit with hope and determination to build the better world of our aspirations. Let us commit to a future that lives up to the name of our indispensable organization. We are a divided world. We can and must be United Nations.
The International Community of Red Cross ICRC has helped facilitate the release of 2 hostages, transporting them from Gaza to Israel in its role as a neutral actor between the warring parties. ICRC president says the release of 2 hostages in Gaza is a silver of hope, as the humanitarian organization is extremely relieved that the hostages can now be reunited with their families after 2 weeks of agony. She also calls for action to protect and alleviate the suffering of all citizens affected by the devastating conflict.
The release of the hostages in Gaza today is a sliver of hope. We are extremely relieved that the families can now be reunited after 2 weeks of agony. We continue to urge for action to protect and alleviate the suffering of all civilians affected by this devastating conflict. As a neutral actor, the ICRC's role was to transport the hostages from Gaza to Israel. We continue to call for the immediate release of all hostages, and we stand ready to help them and their families in any way we can. We also urgently call for a pause in the fighting in Gaza, where the situation is nothing short of desperate. We are ready to work and deliver life-saving humanitarian aid. First responders must be allowed in.
Well, up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Actor Stan Ndi and his wife have announced the birth of their first child, a baby boy named Jaden. The happy news was announced on the actor's Instagram page with a heartwarming carousel of pictures taken at the hospital on Friday, October 20th, 2023. Congratulatory messages have since overflowed for the new parents as fans and fellow celebrities sent goodwill and happy wishes their way. Congratulations to the Ndis. The Abubakar Bukola Saraki Foundation has fully covered the medical expenses of renowned Nollywood actor John Okafor, popularly known as Mr. Ibu. This was made known in a statement shared on the foundation's Facebook page on Friday. As contained in the announcement, the foundation said it was delighted to have assisted Mr. Okafor, a beloved figure in comedy who has graced our screens and brought joy and laughter to numerous households over the past 4 decades. Earlier in the week, the veteran Nollywood actor in a viral video solicited the help of Nigerians on his sick bed to help fund his medical condition. We wish him a swift and complete recovery. And that's all on the entertainment segment of News Now. Okpeyemi Owosheni, TV360 News.
Finally, in sports, in a bold step to bolster the fight against doping in sports, Minister of Sports Development John Eno has declared an unwavering commitment to expedite the submission of the National Anti-Doping Commission Establishment Bill to the Federal Executive Council, FEC, and the National Assembly for ratification in the coming weeks. The minister made the statement in Abuja, saying the paramount importance of legislation to the National Anti-Doping Committee is a crucial step towards overcoming the challenges it faces in achieving its objectives. Eno underscored the significance of this legislation, declaring establishing the National Anti-Doping Commission in Nigeria will mark a decisive and impactful step by the ministry to combat doping. And it's a wrap on News Now. Thank you for staying with us. See you again next time. Bye for now.